What is going on, everybody? Exciting news. We are back with a brand new rebuild series with the Washington Redskins here. This is going to be a really interesting one. A lot of different dynamics. We got a young quarterback, but we don't know if he's the future. We have an interim head coach as we are taking over in Week 8 with the current standings, and we have a lot of holes on this roster. So this is going to be a really fun rebuild here. I want to go through the rules before we hop in. So, of course, this is a realistic rebuild, as we always do on this channel. We will be using my own custom roster, TFG Real 2020, and my custom draft classes. And then another little note on roster stuff at the end of each season, if it's necessary to adjust a development trait or give XP if a player gets shorted on any sort of XP, or if a player earns a dev trait that he maybe didn't deserve. We will go ahead and manually adjust those if it is realistic, of course. And then as far as the timetable goes, we're going to do a 4-year rebuild. It's really a 3.5-year rebuild as we're taking over mid-season here. And then if the final episode of the series gets 1,000 likes, I will do a 2-year episode epilogue version. And then in the first year, we're just going to finish up the division games with our Play the Moments mini game. Those of you that are familiar with the series know what that's all about. So that is a 3 Play the Moments in a game with a maximum of 1 full drive within those. It's a nice little mini game to create some balance between simulating stuff but also taking over with gameplay. In years 2 and 3, we will play every divisional game, Play the Moment style, as we just mentioned. 2 of those, by our own choice, will be a full game of Play the Moments. So we'll just do every Play the Moment inside those games, and then we will do 1 full game of offense and 1 full game of fourth quarter only. That is in year 2 and 3. And then in year 4 here, we are just going to do 6 divisional games, Play the Moments style, as we just mentioned with years 2 and 3. The playoff rules: if we make the wild card round, we get 5 Play the Moments with a maximum of 2 full drives. If we get the second round, 4 Play the Moments, 1 drive. Then we have the Play the Moments mini game for the conference championship. And then should we make the Super Bowl, we will be doing a full game of Play the Moments. So those are the rules. I am going to go through the sliders here so I can direct the dozens of sliders questions that will inevitably come in during this series. So here are the sliders. I'm just going to scroll through these. Again, guys, I'm a roster guy, not a sliders guy. There's probably better sliders out there. These are just kind of what I've come up with for my own pleasure. It is on all Madden. Speed disparity at 50, injuries at 24. A little higher than I normally play because we are the Redskins after all, and we should probably lose about 6 or 7 starters a year. So here we go. We are going to actually technically start here in Week 8. It is the trade deadline, so I wanted to talk about what we're going to do with Trent Williams here, who, you know, there's a lot of trade buzz going around. In real life, it does not seem like he is going to get traded. The owner, Bruce Allen, seems pretty adamant that he is not going anywhere, at least until the end of the season. Now, that's a little silly in my opinion, but we are going to follow through with that. We're going to hopefully, you know, if we can muster up some momentum, if we can get maybe Dwayne Haskins to look a little better, maybe we can convince Trent Williams to stick around here. If he struggles, maybe it's more realistic to go ahead and trade him in the offseason. Obviously, he is 31 years old and is at the back end of his contract. So definitely going to be interesting there. I don't think that we're going to be making any more trades here. I think we're in a decent place to try and compete next year, so I don't necessarily want to sell everyone. You know, the one guy maybe would be Josh Norman, but we're actually going to stay put here and just kind of see what happens the rest of this season, because I think that at this point in real life, that is what's going to happen here with the Redskins, and we're obviously trying to replicate that. So we're going to go ahead and advance here. The standings are perfectly resembling where we are in real life thanks to force wins. So we're going to lose this week to the Vikings. And then next week, we'll have some decisions to make in terms of if Dwayne Haskins is going to start, if there's other players we want to pump in there. So the one thing that we cannot replicate, unfortunately, is the statistics. We can get the records to simulate where we're at, but not the stats. So we're just going to take a peek at how the team's doing. I have benched Geis and Bryce Love, who obviously are not healthy in real life, but I do think that there's a chance Bryce Love we could get going here in the last quarter of the season. So let's see. Terry McLaurin kind of replicating his real-life success. He's obviously our big young stud here at wide receiver. And then defensively, let's see, what do we got going here? Sacks, nothing going, unfortunately, for, wow, where do we find him? Montez Sweat, he does have 31 tackles, but, man, we'd like to see more sacks from him. Interceptions, Quentin Dunbar having a good season. Actually, some pretty high interception numbers there, so nothing too exciting from the statistics department, but I am going to make some depth chart changes here. We are going to go ahead and turn over at quarterback because we want to see what we have in Dwayne Haskins. We're going to have a high pick most likely. We want to see if we Josh Rosen him and maybe trade him off and draft a different guy, or if we stay put there. As with the rest of the depth charts, probably just going to be staying put here. Actually, that's not true. At free safety, just as we're kind of seeing right now in real life, I am going to flip Troy Apke to start over Monte Nicholson, who has struggled this season. One thing I am doing differently this time around, I'm not going to be doing gold stars for the training. I'll obviously pick my focus players, but we're basically going to simulate training as if we were a computer in that regard, because it does give you a pretty unfair advantage, as all the computer teams are just getting, you know, bronze or whatever. So let's take a peek at our contract renegotiations. Brandon Sheriff, he's a Redskin. We definitely want to keep him around. Let's keep him happy at least. You know, I want to try and build some kind of culture here. There is a lot of toughness on this team, and a guy like Brandon Sheriff is definitely someone we want to keep around. Now, a lot of veterans that this team brought in. This team wanted to compete now. It didn't really work out, so we're going to let Chris Thompson, Davis, DRC, Donald Penn, these guys, we'll let all these guys go. TREYVON HESTER's a young player I like. He's asking for a lot of money here, but maybe we can get him at a bigger discount. Let's see if this doesn't offend him too much. 3 years, about $4 million. He's okay with it. He didn't accept it, but we'll have to renegotiate with him later. Ereck Flowers actually has not been the worst here. After bouncing around a little bit, former first-round pick. Again, I'm going to kind of shortchange him a little bit. He, again, not super thrilled with that offer. Not a ton of big players. You know, we're going to be able to keep the core intact here. Obviously, Trent Williams is the big question there. So, like I said, we're going to be doing play the moments against our divisional opponents here, which I don't even know how many of those we have left. It doesn't look like we have them for a while. But we're going to go ahead and sim against the Bills. We'll see if Dwayne Haskins can get anything going for us. And how about that? Dwayne Haskins in his first start does throw a couple picks, but is going to get the win in Buffalo. Big upset against our former rebuild team. Adrian Peterson continues to grind it out. Good game for him. How about our receivers? How did we do? Terry McLaurin, pretty quiet. Vernon Davis, back healthy. Paul Richardson. For the defense, Jonathan Allen, a pick for Josh Norman. Okay, so 2-7, and the bye week this week, so a little optimism brewing here in Washington. That was basically the defense stepping up there. But a good defense can help out a young quarterback in Dwayne Haskins. So Hester's not a huge fan of this contract. We might have to let him hit the market. What about Ereck Flowers? What can we do here? If we bump this up, will he accept that? He's being stubborn as well, so these guys are not exactly lining up to stay here in Washington. But, you know, we can change the culture here. We got some upgrades here. 3 for Terry McLaurin brewing from over the season. We're going to stick with the route runner here. Ooh, a speed and an agility boost for him. He's already a burner, but that's definitely going to help. Looks like that rookie glitch is still a thing, so he's not going to unlock his development until the end of the season. But he just has star development anyway. And then Jonathan Allen as well. He's one of our best young defensive players. Obviously a former first-round pick. We'd love to see him continue to develop, and this team's getting faster and stronger. I like it. Monte Nicholson, he's going to get a couple upgrades. He's not a part of our future, so we're just going to skip through that. Trent Williams, we'll leave that. Landon Collins, again, big time free agent signing. He's going to be one of the cornerstones of this team. He's getting faster and better. Brandon SCHERFF, we gave him that big contract extension. We do have some pieces on this team, that's to be sure. Matthew Ioannidis too, a good interior rusher. This DION line is definitely the strength of this entire team. We've also got Daron Payne. He's a former #1 pick. You know, he's kind of a little bigger, a little more of a run stopper. Not that he can't rush the passer, but that's more of what he does best. And then we'll have Reuben Foster coming back next year. He's out with a torn ACL, but that was a good pickup for this team. You know, this is kind of the Alabama Redskins here. The Washington Crimson Tide, maybe. Could be the rebrand with all of the anti-Redskins people out there. Morgan Moses, a decent right tackle. 28 years old, so he'll be here for a while. Chase ROULLIER as well. You know, the offensive line, that's one thing I do like about this Redskins team is the line play it's pretty set up. We're basically building skill players here and quarterback play. So that's what makes this a pretty fun rebuild. It's going to be a lot of cornerbacks, linebackers, wide receivers, maybe running backs. We'll see how everyone turns out. Wow, that's a good upgrade for Fabian Moreau. He gets a speed boost. He's up to 95 speed. Sweat gets an upgrade. 2 finesse moves. Troy Apke's ready for one. Definitely going to go zone. We want him to be that high free safety with that athleticism he's got up there. And Haskins even ready for one. Speed boost. That's a real good upgrade right there. This Jerron Christian, he's a former 3rd-round pick. He's going to be some nice depth. I think he's got another year or 2 left on his contract. Another Alabama player here, SHAUN Hamilton. You know, basically just highlighting the guys that I see. Wow, what an upgrade. 3 block shed and 3 zone. That's going to make him a much bigger piece. I think that upgrade right there. Scrolling through the rest of these guys. You know, the rest of these guys probably not huge pieces. So we're going to just automate all of those, and we're going to keep moving here. So we got the bye week, and we play the Jets next week. They're 1-8. We're at home. If we pick up a win here, this, you know, I'm not going to say gets interesting in terms of playoffs or anything, but, you know, we talk about trying to build a culture here, and maybe Bill Callahan becomes the future. Hell, like, I don't know. But we'll see how Haskins can handle the Jets. We lost, so going for that good draft position, I suppose. No picks for Haskins, but kind of a quiet day. AP continues to just grind things out here. Terry McLaurin not exactly exploding onto the scene here. Let's see, defensively, still no sacks for Montez Sweat. That's disappointing. You know, the defense is playing well here. I'm at least a little encouraged by how the defense is playing. We get a bunch more upgrades. Sweat gets another one. Hopefully this can help him get into the sack column here. So he's gone up 4 finesse moves. We got Trey Quinn. We'll do Paul Richardson here. Man, has he been quiet. I don't know if he's been healthy or not, but I guess he doesn't pair perfectly, to say the least, with Case Keenum, who's not exactly a deep threat. And we'll just skip Donald Penn. So we got Lions this week. We're going to keep going. Stafford lights us up. Haskins not playing the best football here. AP slowing down. I think this would be a good week to maybe see what Bryce Love has to offer. He would have suffered a torn ACL back in about December. So now that we're sitting here about 10 months removed from that, I think he should be about ready to come back. So I think we're going to go ahead and kind of activate Bryce Love here. Exciting running back out of Stanford. He's a player I really like. So let's go ahead and slide him on up here. We're going to make him our #1. I know AP's having a nice year, but you know, we're not going anywhere here. We're going to try and get the youth movement going, see what we have for the future. Maybe even examine the free agent market, just see if there's any youth we might want to look at, maybe at wide receiver, perhaps. I'm not seeing any ideal options here. Let's sort by overall. Brashad Perriman. Duke Williams gets cut from Buffalo. David Sills. That's actually an intriguing option there. I think I'd rather actually just bump up what's his name on our depth chart instead. But I do want to add David Sills to our team at least. Pick him up from the Giants practice squad. Kind of a local guy here from West Virginia. Maybe another Virginia guy. Tumichin Hodges, Bucky Hodges. Tim Williams gets released from the Green Bay Packers. Why not continue to expand upon the Alabama legacy here? I tell you what, if we had the freedom to make completely custom team names, I would just name this team the Washington Crimson Tide, but unfortunately we do not have that ability. How about a cornerback? Any options here? Cameron Sutton, actually, a young corner that was kind of starting to play well there in Pittsburgh. He gets released here. Let's give him a crack. And Chuck Clark as well. Now, this one's not super realistic. You know, if he struggled with Baltimore, he would probably get released. So, you know, like I said, we're trying to build a culture here. Those are some culture signings there. We're sticking with the Bama guys, the local Virginia guys, guys that want to be here. That's kind of what I'm trying to build here. So we are obviously going to have to make some cuts after all those signings, but we're trying to kind of turn a new leaf here. With the activation of Bryce Love, I think we can let Wendell Smallwood go, even though he is a Virginia guy. With signing David Sills, I'm going to practice squad Steven Sims. Going to let Noah Spence go with bringing in Tim Williams. And then at corner, technically DRC is on IR in real life. To replicate that, I'm just going to go ahead and release him because he's not injured on this roster. So now we can tweak this depth chart a little bit. I'm actually a big fan of what we're doing here. I like a lot of these moves. I think they're good culture fits here. So let's go ahead and slide Kelvin Harmon up here to our number 2 wide receiver. I liked him a lot coming out of NC State. We'll keep Paul Richardson on the field. Probably going to make Kelvin Harmon our slot guy when there are 3 wide. Jordan Reed's back healthy at this point. That's cool. I didn't realize Morgan Moses was a Virginia guy. That's kind of cool. I'm going to go ahead and slide Sean Dion Hamilton up to being our number 1 linebacker. And then let's make Holcomb our number 2 linebacker. The Carolina is another kind of pipeline here, sticking with the East Coast mentality. I'll keep Sweat there, obviously. And then at corner, I think I want to make our new signing here, Cameron Sutton, our starting slot, because that's kind of what he's built to do. Fabian Moreau, you know, he's keeping him. We're keeping him on the back burner here, but maybe next year he'll play a big role. We'll see what we do there with Mr. Josh Norman. Still a bunch of upgrades. You know, the upgrades are rolling in, despite the fact that we're not getting gold rewards for this stuff. Ioannidis has gotten 2 recently. And then Tim Settle, another guy that I've talked a lot about in my Studs and Duds weekly updates. This guy, I really liked him. Again, a Virginia guy, so keeping with that culture building here, but he's a good run defender. He can even, you know, do some fun things as a pass rusher. Really quick feet. And Chuck Clark was ready for an upgrade when we signed him. He gets a speed boost. He could be a player for us. We're kind of stealing a lot of Ravens guys here. Tim Williams was actually released by the Packers, but he was originally released by the Ravens. Let's see if Haskins can get another good upgrade here. There you go. Pretty good. All right, Packers next week. We got the Panthers this week. Kind of hope we keep losing, get that good draft position. But we actually win. So all those new signings kind of paying off, starting to build something here. Haskins played great. Look at that. 3 touchdowns, outplayed Cam Newton. How did Bryce Love do? Not bad, not bad. 56 yards. Another 34 through the air. It's a good fantasy day. Terry McLaurin gets a touchdown. All right. Defensively, Cole Holcomb getting the starting role. He's close to a Defensive Player of the Week, I'm sure there. Good week for the North Carolina prospect. Montez Sweat gets his first sack. 2 picks for Fabian Moreau. Wow, okay. That's interesting. As like the dime corner, he comes away with 2 picks. Unless we had him in there as our slot corner still. I bet that's what happened there. Oh, look at this. We get a breakout for Bryce Love. 2 touchdowns, 400 yards rushing against the Green Bay Packers. I tell you what, I think I'm going to pivot a little bit here. I know I said we were just going to play divisional games, but this is getting really interesting here. Just kind of, I really am a big fan of kind of the momentum we're trying to build right here. I think I'm actually going to do a full offensive playage here against the Green Bay Packers, and that's going to really set up well for episode 2. So we're going to try and get that breakout for Bryce Love, muster up some momentum for him heading into next season. We're going to see what Dwayne Haskins can do coming off a 3-touchdown performance last week against the Panthers. And even if we do win and we hurt our draft position ultimately, I'm always a fan of, you know, building kind of a culture here. And Sean Hamilton just got another really good upgrade. He's gotten speed, block shedding, zone coverage. He is looking like a hell of a player here. So despite the fact that we're 3-9, I am pretty fired up here. We also got weekly awards from last week. It was Foster Moreau, or Fabian Moreau. How many times am I going to screw that up on this rebuild series? So obviously we got to make him a starter after what he did last week. I think maybe we should just give Josh Norman the rest of the season off. Obviously struggling in real life. Maybe we make him a safety or something next year. Maybe we trade him. But we got to start Fabian Moreau. And that's how he ended up getting it. He actually started in the slot last week. So we're going to push him up, and then we're going to start Cameron Sutton in the slot. So I'm fired up. Please, guys, hit that like button. I can't say that enough. It helps me out so much more than you know. Helps generate views. Share the video and all that stuff. Tell your friends about the series too. All that good stuff, especially as the series goes on. It's really important that you guys just hit that like button. So that's going to do it for this episode. When we come back, we'll be heading in to Lambeau Field with a breakout opportunity for Bryce Love. Cheers, guys. We'll see you for that one.